This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. All right, let's jump into Hot Takes, the video where I react to the comment section, what you guys have been saying. Sometimes y'all are nice. Sometimes y'all are very mean. We'll see what we get this week. I think it's going to be a mix of both. Tracy says this, and this is about my video about Kenny Pickett laughing at him for popping his hamstring running the football. Now, he did not hurt his hamstring as much as we felt like he did at the start. But I apparently was 100% correct about my hypothesis on how that man hurt his hamstring, which was by sprinting full speed for no goddamn reason in that practice. But anyways, this was a comment in response to that from Tracy, who's also a member. Shout out to you. An athlete should be able to run without fear of injury. It's no different than any conditioning drills. This really sucks. It's a serious hamstring injury. I really like Kenny Pickett. Was looking forward to seeing him as our starter in the system. Flacco didn't have any other teams to sign him, so the fact that the Browns signed him, he was a backup for Pickett. Well, it looks like Dylan Gabriel will be our starter before half the season. I don't know about that. Here's what I'll say. Should you be able to run without fear? Yeah. And I think Kenny Pickett would have been able to run and not injure himself. Sprinting at full speed, though, that's where you injure yourself. I don't know about you, or maybe you sitting at home. Sprinting at full speed is not something you can just do. after the age of like 22, right? Just like cold sprinting at full speed, even if you stretch a little bit, like you got to be very careful if you're going to go full speed. Like there's a whole warm up, cool down that you have to do, because sprinting at full speed, like we saw this with Dustin Hopkins when he started to sprint at full speed after he had a kickoff return happen on him and he popped his hamstring. It is not something you should do if you haven't been building up to it, right? And when you let adrenaline make you go full speed and you haven't been building up to it, almost always it's going to be a hamstring injury. So that's what I think was super avoidable with the Kenny Pickett thing, was like, hey, man, there was absolutely 100% no reason for you to sprint full speed for 80 yards. There was no reason. I understand the competition. You want to compete. You want to be a competitor. That's cool. But at the end of the day, people would have been as impressed with a 30-yard run that ended in a slide before you went full speed versus a 80-yard run. It would have been the same level of, wow, look at Kenny Pickett. He's really running. But then when you decide to sprint full speed, like you're running a damn 40 out of nowhere, your body's going to react like that. Because you ain't supposed to just be cold sprinting out of nowhere. You got to work yourself up to that. So yeah, that's what I was saying, or what I was making fun of. It's like, why would you do that? Like sprinting at full speed out the cold is just a horrible thing to do to your body. And again, if you're to anybody asking this question, when's the last time you sprinted full speed? Like run, yeah, everybody runs pretty often, but like sprint full speed, there's a reason you don't do it every day, because it can mess you up, okay? Especially when you get older. And it's not even like you got to be old for it to mess you up. You just got to be older than 25 for it to mess you up, and not somebody who sprints. Like, you ever watch somebody do the sprints at the Olympics? Be the best athletes in the shape of their lives, doing all this little jumping and kicking in the air, stretching, because they know, man, sprinting at full speed is hell on the body. Hell on the body. Devin says this, low-key tired of hearing about 12's timing. When he had no offensive line in college, he was the most accurate in college. Dillon has been looking like sloppy Baker Mayfield. One, I'll say this. Being better than Dylan Gabriel is not enough to solve the Browns quarterback problems, right? I'm not interested in Shedeur just winning the job. I want Shedeur to fix the Browns quarterback problems. And if you're better than Dylan Gabriel, congratulations, here's your cookie, but that don't mean shit to me. Like, we've had better than Dylan Gabriel on this football team before. It does not solve the problem. I need so the reason I'm talking about Shedeur's timing, even though I think that he's better than Dylan Gabriel, and I've said this on the record multiple times, is because I don't care if he's just better than Dylan Gabriel. Like, so many people are just caught up in the competition aspect of this that we're not even looking at the big picture. The reason I care about the timing for Shedeur and his pocket stuff is because for him to solve the Browns quarterback problem, that is something in his game that I think he needs to address. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't see how that's unreasonable. But, I guess it is. Michael says, I actually think Jimmy Haslam is maturing as a owner. Probably a unpopular opinion. This was a interesting comment, right? Because on one hand, I have been pretty clear on this channel that I think people give ownership too much credit. And people think this concept of a good owner exists. I will argue with people forever about this. I don't think good owners exist. There are owners who decide that they're going to try to make football decisions they're not qualified to make because they can afford to make those decisions. And there are owners who are smart enough to let the experts make decisions in the fields that they hired them to do. There's not a single owner I think is making great decisions for their football team actively. Maybe you could make the argument that Jerry Jones is the one exception, but Jerry Jones is from a different generation of NFL owner where NFL teams weren't so expensive or weren't so prohibitively expensive that people who knew what they were talking about football could own them, right? The thing I like to say a lot is football teams are so expensive now that it's impossible for somebody who knows what they're doing to own the team, right? You only get the amount of money you can get to own a football team from other industries, right? Whether it be tech or oil, right? You're not going to get the billions that you need, the hundreds of billions that you need to own an NFL franchise from simply knowing ball. Right? Like Tom Brady might be able to get some venture capitalists together to put together an amount of money, and he might be able to install himself as some kind of president, but he can't outright own the team. He's not worth that much money. Knowing football is not worth that much money. It's not worth as much as starting a successful tech company or, owning the color purple or, distributing all the groceries in America. Like, that's the kind of shit that people who can afford football teams do to make this fortune, and why I think their input is always almost a negative thing because they're the least qualified person in the room in whatever industry, in not whatever industry, but in football. They're always going to be the least qualified person who has the most pull in the organization. That's a dangerous combination. So the more you minimize them, the better. The good owners are the ones who get out the way. Right? Like, that's it. Right? Those are the good owners. Right? Jeffrey Lurie from the Eagles. He's a good owner. Why is he a good owner? Well, he lets Howie Roseman do what he needs to do. And he just signs the checks and he trusts the man to do his job, and he picked the right guy. So, boom, good owner. That's really it. So is Jimmy Haslam maturing as an owner? Yes, I agree, because he is no longer, I don't know. The Deshaun Watson trade was not that long ago, but he seems to be at the point now in 2025 to where if Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski prove themselves as the stewards of the organizations that they think they are, and they're able to lead this team to victory consistently, then I do think that Jimmy is at the place where he's just going to let them do their jobs. And that's what a good owner does. Right? So, yeah, that's my kind of thing on it. We are really in our weekend slate, we're really getting to some topics here, right? I talked about the NFL as a legal cartel. We talked about what truly is a fair opportunity in Q&A and in hot takes, where we're tackling like really how useful can the billionaire class be when it comes to owning a sports entity that they have no experience in. All right. JDA Champ says this. What is crazy? What crazy is I hope Shador wins the QB job and becomes the QB we've been missing for decades. I'm also realistic on the likelihood of that not being super high. I think every Browns fan wants the problem to be solved at quarterback. I think some folks have preferences on who solves that problem. And I've learned from all of the ordeals that we have dealt with over the last 6 years that people will crash out if a quarterback is good, but not the one that they want it to be good. So I do think people kind of commit to that a bit much. I don't care. Whoever's the quarterback that can play well for the Cleveland Browns is a quarterback that I will support, right? If it's Cade Klubnik in the future, if it's Lenore Sellers, if it's Shador Sanders, if it's Dylan Gabriel, if it's Kenny goddamn Pickett, right? Whichever quarterback can get the Browns to playoff caliber, championship caliber football, that's all I care about, right? So yeah, I think we all want the problem solved. I think people kind of just get too invested in winning an argument about who that answer to that problem is going to be. I don't think you got to even get into the argument in the first place. There's nothing wrong with waiting and seeing, and I think that's a lost art on the internet these days. The next one is Anthony. He says, spot on. The part people are missing is that the best thing for Shador and the Browns is that he is fully prepared when we put him in. He's super talented, and if we can get his pocket mechanics ironed out, he will be a better player. Yeah, I think that's the Browns' responsibility, Shador. If you're going to put him in, does he look prepared? Right. That is when I will judge the job of the Cleveland Browns with Shador. If they put him in and he does not look prepared, that's not just an indictment on Shador. That's an indictment on the Browns organization, right? Did you prepare this guy enough? Because that's a big question. That's important. So, yeah, I agree with you. If a player is prepared or not, regardless of where they're sitting with the snaps or how they're doing it, it's too inside. Well, not inside baseball. That's too much coaching from the jungle gym, right? For me, right? It's too much of that. I'm not going to tell somebody how to do their job. But if it is apparent that when you put that player in, he's not prepared for whatever reason, yes, some of that blame goes to the player, but also, you got to ask if the coaching staff did what they needed to prepare for this situation themselves. All right, these are some fun ones right here. Let's pull up these questions. Well, not questions, these hot takes that I got from some of the folks in the heavy Shador camp. And again, I don't mean to pick on these people because I think most people who are rooting for Shador, much like people in my own personal life, just want to see him succeed, right? They're not toxic or anything like that. And I hate how people kind of just assume that every single Shador fan is toxic. But there are some toxic Shador fans for sure. And I think that needs to be addressed as well, right? I don't think you can just ignore that exists. It does. And here's proof, right? Talk to All says, I'm so tired of y'all real Browns fan stuff. Y'all are losers, generations of losers, and mad because we positive about our guy 12. If I was a real Browns fan, I'd be happy as hell people finally paying attention to us. Q, you had an okay opinion, yet the weirdos choose to just hate them in the comments. Browns fans are the weirdest fans in the world. Well, one, there's a good response to that I'm going to read, but also I want to address this comment. How can you come in here and here's the thing. I promise you, I talked to Off. I looked at the comment history. Maybe at one point he wasn't being this combative, but months of arguing with people online can turn you into this. I always recommend this. If it starts to feel like you got to respond like this to people, get the fuck off the internet. I'm sorry. Just Get the fuck off the internet, right? Like, because I've had it. I'm an online Browns fan as well, and I've had these moments where I'm ready to just like caps lock rage over something because I want to win an argument in the past. And you know what I did? I got the fuck off the internet and I remained a normal, healthy person. So like, that's something to be there, right? Like if you find yourself crashing out over things like this, get the fuck off the internet for a couple of days, right? Like, take a walk, see the sunlight, do some shit with your friends if you have them. If you don't, try to make some friends. Like, legitimately, I'm not trying to roast anybody. Like, there's a reason why I don't tweet as much anymore. Because when I was tweeting a ton, the show wasn't as good. I was getting too caught into fucking internet arguments that I was having with people, and that's what the show would become. And it wasn't good for anybody. Nobody like it. People weren't liking it, right? I feel like the show's at a much better place now because I'm on the internet so goddamn much. So one, I would highly recommend just get the fuck off the internet for a little bit, right? Like legitimately, it's not bad for you. Watch some TV shows. Watch. You don't have to watch something that's based on somebody's perspective all the time because sometimes it's too much, right? Just watch some shows, watch some movies. Just get the fuck away from it. But anyway, because when you get to this place where you're just like outwardly antagonizing people, you're just going to get people to respond to you in nasty ways. And that's just going to breed more antagonism from you, which is going to lead to like an endless cycle of arguing, right? And I don't think anybody wants to be at this place. So, that's one thing I'd recommend because this is a very hostile comment. You're agreeing with me and I feel like you're yelling at me. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. There are people who are just as toxic and just as online that hate Shedeur Sanders, and they're willing to go to some disgusting places in order to justify that hatred. I understand it. That if you engage with this long enough, that it can like get you to this point. Even if you're a normal person, even if you think you're above it, you're laughing at this guy watching it, you can probably fall victim of this kind of thing too. And at the end of the day, you just need to realize you're arguing about if a football player can start. It's not that deep. Log the fuck off the internet and just don't deal with it for like 24 hours and just see how much better your life would be. Like, not saying you don't engage with it or anything like that, but you just don't got to do it all the time because then it just makes you antagonistic and then you're yelling at people and then it gets to a bad place. Ted, I thought, had a decent response to this. If they were just positive about your guy or fans that were positive about your guy, I think he's kind of generalizing a bit here. But if you were just being positive about your guy, I think we'd be fine. But that's what I'm seeing from the Sanders fan. You are hating on the coaches that are doing their job, calling Browns fans losers, coming up with wild conspiracy theories. You're rooting for the Browns to fail unless they pick your guy. So sure, we hate you. How else could it go? I'd be thrilled if Sanders becomes a first-round talent at QB, but I totally trust Steph to evaluate these guys on the field. And look, you don't have to have like full trust in Kevin Stefanski because I don't have full trust in Kevin Stefanski or Andrew Berry. I have some trust in them, but not full. I think it comes down to like just, if you're a fan for a specific player, that's cool. You ain't got to call us losers though. Like, you ain't got to call Browns fans losers. You ain't got to go at the team. Like, be respectful and mindful on both sides of this argument, right? The same way we don't got to go at every Shedeur fan that clearly wants Shedeur to succeed because they love Shedeur. Like, we don't got to go at every single one. The amount of times I see like just some innocent person coming on here, she's like, oh, I love Shedeur. I hope Shedeur starts. And then some like asshole goes in and starts chatting in auntie alert in the comment section. Like, it goes both ways, I promise you, right? Like, the Shedeur people are a bit more flamboyant with it, but there are assholes on both sides of this that are creating this flame war. And my thing is just like, be fucking kind to people, y'all. Like, it's kindergarten level advice, but honestly, we're not doing it. So just be fucking kind to people. Like what you like. Don't be a dick about it. Shout out to Brian Zane. All right. The Butcher. The Butcher Says you sound like a hater. He rolled left and right and threw the ball 60 miles, but he has no arm strength. He had no blocking all in Colorado last time. Watching you, be more positive, bro. What the fuck did I say that Shedeur doesn't have arm strength? I just said he doesn't have spectacular arm talent. See. Look, this is why I don't be on Twitter, because I would have crashed out, argued about this. Here's what I need people to understand. When I say somebody is good, that's not an insult. I know we've turned good into an insult. You know, everything's either got to be the greatest thing you ever seen or the worst thing you ever seen. And I don't want to sound like an old man, but it's true. Y'all be doing that. Good is not an insult. If I say he has solid arm strength, but not spectacular, that just means he's not fucking Josh Allen. Doesn't mean he's bad. Also, demanding I be more positive while telling me you're not going to watch me anymore because I'm not as positive. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like it's a good strategy for me to change my my content strategy around somebody who's admittedly going to not watch me. I just don't think that's a good idea. But y'all let me know in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.